One-day only Thanksgiving Day deals are coming to Lowe's.com. Plus, members get early access to online Black Friday doorbuster deals on gifting favorites, like the still-trending Cobalt Mini Toolbox for just $14.98. Don't miss up to 50% off for one day only at Lowe's.com. We help, you save. Valid 11/27 only on Lowe's.com. Member-only doorbusters and midnight Eastern. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. See Lowe's.com/terms for details. Subject to change while supplies last.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
What's up, champs? Welcome to another episode of the Short Shifts Fantasy Hockey Podcast, brought to you by Keeping Karlsson. I'm your host, Louis Ezekiel. Joining me tonight, my pal and yours, Ryan Downey. Ryan, how are you doing on this fine? No, let's not kid ourselves. This is a pretty boring Tuesday evening. I am used to having, 9 or 10 games to occupy my time here. This one game stuff is not doing it for me, especially when my opponent's Jamie Benn pickup cashed in almost immediately. Very frustrating. Nice pick, though.
You too, huh? I'm also suffering the slings and arrows of a Jamie Benn pick and mix in a Wyatt Johnson assist, too, and I'm having a very bad start to my fantasy evening for sure, but a great start in general to my Tuesday evening because I get to be here talking with you about fantasy hockey and about everything that's happened over the past couple of days since the Mega Show.
Yeah, let's jump right into it because there's plenty to talk about. We had a busy Monday, so we got to see a lot of interesting action. The Edmonton-Dallas game is unfolding as we go, so maybe we'll give you some updates on a game you already know the outcome of. But let's jump right over to Tampa. This was a pretty exciting one. Anthony Cirelli makes his return. Unfortunately, again, for my opponent, who is having some great luck here. Is the undisputed number one center with Braeden Point out, playing with Hagel and Kucherov at 5-on-5. Ryan, you said add Cirelli last week. And if you did, I'm sure you are glad you did. Point down with that injury gives Cirelli access to that top line. And that top line has been really good lately. They've had to be with all of the injuries, especially along the blue line for Tampa Bay. But they've been pretty successful in these games, despite all of these injuries. We do not have a definitive update on Point. He didn't play Monday. He is dicey for Wednesday. So keep an eye on that, obviously. But as long as Cirelli's got that opportunity, people should keep cashing in on your fine advice from last week.
Yeah, definitely. He's had 2 goals and 3 assists since returning last Tuesday with over 5 fantasy points per game since his return. That's about what you expect from a top center, that doesn't have access to that power play. And that's kind of the rub right now. He is not on the top power play. Nick Paul is in that bumper spot with Kucherov, Bjorkstrand, and Gensel, along with our friend Darren Radish, of course, on the blue line. Cirelli was a popular streamer this week, but he may be a season hold depending on who gets going for Tampa Bay. Another thing to just inform everybody about, John Cooper mentioned today that yet another defenseman for Tampa Bay is going to miss some significant time. Eric Chernak is week to week, and this is not the same injury that he's been suffering all year. So JJ Moser and Darren Radish are still great options for you to add from your waiver wire.
All right, let's jump over to Boston where we saw some changes as well. Over at Game Day Tweets, the last lines available that we saw was a top line of Blumel, Zacha, and Pasternak, and then Husnudinov, Lindholm, and Geekie making up that second line. Of course, with Geekie as hot as he is, that's a decent option, maybe spreading out the offense a little bit. Hampus Lindholm, of course, has been that undisputed power play 1 QB. He has had 2 power play assists since last week, which is good for him. What do you think? Is Mason Lohrei going to be a threat while we wait for Charlie Coyle, while we wait for Charlie McAvoy to make his return, or are we not so worried about Mason Lohrei?
Yeah, I doubt Lowry will bump him at this point. Nothing's really changed for him since last week. Hampus Lindholm is 96% owned in Cacuffle, so you'd better hurry. 9% in your Yahoo leagues. He won't be at that number for long. He's going to be the power play quarterback for the foreseeable future. So get out there and grab Hampus Lindholm if he's not already taken in your league.
Yeah, I always love to see those big disparities between the Cupful percentage owned and the Yahoo percentage owned, because that means there are some really nice opportunities out there for those folks playing in other leagues. Over in Nashville, Ryan, take us through the power play a little bit, because we finally saw what looked like a serious attempt at stacking the top group here.
Yes. Bruno has finally assembled the Predators power play Megatron, with power play one featuring Roman Josi, Philip Forsberg, Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, and Ryan O'Reilly. We've been waiting for this for what seems like 2 years now. Unfortunately, it didn't really do much for them last night. They got less time actually last night on the power play than the power play 2, who actually did convert against Florida, with Nick Blankenberg, our favorite, family member of a person here in our Discord, getting that goal. Very exciting for him. And it doesn't look like they got back on the ice after that. So I guess we'll have to wait and see tomorrow if they've decided that this great experiment is not worth it. It's interesting for me, though, just to note that this comes after Nashville had their, not so busy couple of weeks. Names like Ryan O'Reilly, Steven Stamkos, and Jonathan Marchessault were littering people's waiver wires last week. With this news, Lewis, of this kind of deployment for these guys, is there any interest in those forwards for you? Maybe add to your team in this week where streaming is kind of not really a thing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we've said before that Stamkos and Marchessault don't belong on rosters. I think that still definitely applies for Marchessault. Maybe softening on Stamkos a little bit since he's getting a better opportunity. And, I think that with Josi back, maybe they can be a little more potent there. So I might take a flyer on Stamkos if he was out there. I had an opportunity to pick up O'Reilly, and I skipped that opportunity when I was streaming this week. So I just, he is a guy who, has been interesting to me in the past, and I have found useful at times, but he is, if he's not scoring, he might not give you anything at all. And I just worry about, these Predators problems that we've seen throughout the year offensively. I'd rather have someone who, might be on a more offensively exciting team and might, just happen to be on the ice and tip a puck that gets put in and, gives you some points that way. I just don't necessarily, until I see proof that Nashville power play is worth something, I'm going to stay away from it.
Speaking of offensively exciting teams, Lewis, you've given me the perfect segue to talk about what's going on in New Jersey. Listeners to the Short Shifts podcast may remember that last week we talked about some returning players to New Jersey who all joined the lineup back on last Tuesday, that being Dougie Hamilton, Connor Brown, Evgeny Dadonov, and Brendan Dillon, who all made their returns. And until yesterday, there was no production from any of these guys until they finally won last night for the first time, getting these guys back. This also, of course, coincides with losing Jack Hughes to that, freak glass incident, which has been covered very well in the mainstream media. So we won't go into that too much. What we will talk about is last night. And Connor Brown had a goal and an assist last night. Nico Hischier had a goal and an assist, and especially impressive for him after taking a nasty hit into the boards. Timo with a goal and an assist last night, and Cody Glass with a goal in his return last night. So the offense finally got going after a bit of a stagnant week. One player who did not get going was Dougie Hamilton, who, while he is back on power play one and shooting the lights out in 3 of those games last week, got 10 shots. Nothing really last night, and really a hit away from a cardio session. So would love to see him get going as well. Interesting to note that Arseny Gritschuk seems to be the next man up for power play. Hischier was unfortunately the recipient of a nasty hit into the boards, and so went to the dressing room and wasn't able to take advantage on the power play. So Gritschuk got into that spot. Nothing really happened at that point, and then Hischier came back. So all is well that ends well.
Yeah, I think, with Hamilton shooting, it's just a matter of time. I think you stay patient. We've seen what high-volume defensive shooters can do with players like Chychrun just being outstanding this season. And Hamilton, maybe his highest offensive ceiling might be behind him, but I think he's still capable of a lot more than we've seen. So I would stay the course as long as he is shooting the way that he is. All right, and let's check in on some of these Canadian team goalies, especially I want to focus on Vancouver and Montreal. Not a great time for Kevin Lankinen. He managed one quality start, but two really bad starts, meaning a save percentage under .850. And then one other kind of on the borderline during this time where Lankinen has been the starter. Vancouver's definitely not doing him any favors, but he is averaging about an assist per game worth of cupful points, or else a win where his goals against cancel out his saves, essentially. Not very good. He had a negative game and just a flat 0. And now he's leaving the team for personal reasons. We don't know how long this will last. Jiri Patera is going on the road trip. He has also been quite bad. So what do you think? Anything helpful in Vancouver, or you can take us into Montreal too? What do we think about the situation? I'm not jumping on Patera, certainly.
No, and you shouldn't be after that game against Florida a couple weeks ago that forced them to turn to Kevin Lankinen and have him produce so poorly as well. Really bad last 2 games for Lankinen. It doesn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me, I should say, if Demko came back as soon as Wednesday. He is on the road trip, so he is down there in Southern California with the team, and I don't think they want to play Patera, so I would expect him back tomorrow against Anaheim to begin his quest to become the number one once again, especially with Lankinen away from the team. That seems like the logical decision for the team. Other teams make a lot of logical decisions. Montreal has been making some of those decisions lately. They've entrusted the quasi-starter role to Jakub Dobeš, who has finally garnered 3 starts in a row for Montreal this season. Talking with Elon earlier today, he regretted not bringing up on the Mega Show that he thinks that Dobeš is the new undisputed starter for Montreal. Certainly, it's been a while coming with Montembeault's poor play. But it's not like Dobeš has been unimpeachable as of late. He had one quality start against Toronto, but let's be honest, I probably could have gotten a quality start against Toronto at this point. So it's not really something to write home about. Dobeš had his strong run through October, but has dropped off a little bit and hasn't found the same panache from earlier in the season. Is the answer more games? I'm thinking this might still be a tandem, personally. What do you think, Lewis?
Well, as much as I want to find some points of contention between the two of us during the course of this show, I'm going to have to agree with you on this one. I think that they want to get Montembeault going. He's shown, some ability to, put together some streaks of fantasy relevance. I think they're going to keep plugging away and trying to get Montembeault opportunities to get right. We'll see if we see a real sea change in the starts. If I'm starting to see Dobeš consistently over a few weeks getting 2 out of 3 starts, then I might start to change my way of thinking about this. But for now, maybe for a spot start if you think you've got an advantageous matchup. But I got to think that maybe there are going to be some better options for you out there. I would be a little skeptical until we see a longer streak where one of these guys seems to put together a little bit of a run of starts. All right, Ryan, we will get to some injuries and outries as well as some hot and cold streaks and some other Tuesday news. We're going to take a quick break here. You're listening to Short Shifts.
Turkey, touchdowns, and takes. It's Thanksgiving and the action doesn't stop at the dinner table. Feast on some winnings this holiday with Pick 6, DraftKings' newest fantasy pick'em game. Just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats. It's that simple. Pick 6 brings you upside those other pick'em sites can't touch. The better you perform, the bigger your payout. And it's available in most states, including Texas, California, Georgia, and more. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN. New DraftKings customers can play just $5 and get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Make the call, ride the upside in partnership with DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable. Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. Terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. The holidays are here, and that means it's the most wonderful time of the year to save with Rakuten. Rakuten, use them to stack cash back at your favorite stores on top of holiday sales. That's saving on savings. With Rakuten, you can get cash back on gifts for everyone on your list, from toys for the kids to kitchen gear for the person who loves to cook to electronics for everyone. You can even save on something for yourself. Just shop the stores you love, and cash back is automatically added to your account, and you can choose to get paid via Interac, e-transfer, PayPal, or check. Join for free today and get a new member bonus after minimum qualifying purchases. Just go to Rakuten.ca, download the app, or install the browser extension. That's Rakuten. Spells Rakuten. Terms and conditions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Get ready to shop Lowe's Black Friday doorbuster deals to save $150 on a 30-inch Blackstone griddle, now $299. Plus, choose a Whirlpool top-load washer or Midea top freezer refrigerator for just $398. These limited-time doorbuster deals go fast, so get holiday ready today at Lowe's. We help, you save. Valid 11/28 through 12/1. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details.
If you're a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility and your machinery isn't working right, Grainger knows you need to understand what's wrong as soon as possible. So when a conveyor motor falters, Grainger offers diagnostic tools like calibration kits and multimeters to help you identify and fix the problem. With Grainger, you can be confident you have everything you need to keep your facility running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome back to Short Shifts. Ryan, all right, so we got some outcheries. We saw the return of Zach Benson playing on line 3, but power play 1. And he has an assist so far in his return. We also saw Norris maybe spending some time skating on line 2, doing some subbing in on the top power play unit. There was a spot that was kind of rotating between Benson and Norris. With the rest being Thompson, Dahlin, Zucker, and Doan. So that could be a sign working with the power play that he's getting closer to a return. I would imagine he'll have that spot. So maybe when he's done rotating with Benson, that might mean he's a little bit closer. We know Norris is not going to play Wednesday, but skating on a line with Benson and Ostlund, you could call that a second line and is a possibility for the weekend. I think obviously the long-term goal is for Norris to survive long enough to maybe reunite with Tage Thompson and rekindle some of that great chemistry they had during the preseason that had everyone so excited before he was injured almost immediately. Ryan, any thoughts on Benson's return or Norris or the Buffalo players in general here on a little bit of a break until the latter half of the week?
Yeah, we brought up Benson last week that he was getting close, and he certainly did make his return last week. And, you know, a bit of maybe an underwhelming lineup spot on that third line. You probably weren't expecting that with the amount of injured players in Buffalo. And, you know, Norris coming back kind of dampens my enthusiasm on Benson, because if he loses that power play 1 spot and ends up as a middle 6 winger, I am much less likely to hold on to him long term. Certainly, he won't be getting into your lineup for most of this week. So keep an eye on that for tomorrow. It looks potentially like he will return tomorrow. That's what it looked like Lindy Ruff was saying, at least earlier today. So we'll have to just check back on that. And hopefully maybe Shams and Jeremy can talk about it, or whoever actually is taking on the Thanksgiving edition of Short Shifts. Norris, though, you know, you would know, Lewis, like many of us in the Short Shifts chat, I was a Norris drafter, so I'm really hopeful that he can come back and, you know, actually start his season like we all hoped he would. He had a lot of great chemistry in the first few games of preseason with a lot of those Sabres players. And so I'm very excited for Norris and to see a little bit more from this guy who, we haven't seen a whole lot of him in a Sabres uniform yet.
Yeah, I predicted 39 games for him, so only about 38 and 9/10 to go here before I can be correct about that game's prediction. I think Norris's return will probably make Ryan McLeod more or less irrelevant again, at least if he does ultimately take that spot with Thompson. Maybe they're easing him in a little bit, but just keep an eye on those because I think once McLeod is not with Thompson and Tuck on the first line, I'm not especially interested in him. He was a pretty boring own in general, although he did come alive for us on the Friday-Sunday portion of last week's great streaming schedule for the Sabres. So that was nice if you managed to hold on. Some other Sabres that might be interesting because there is a pretty decent schedule for the Sabres next week, especially, as you mentioned, this is a tough week for streaming. So if you are just kind of biding your time on some of your moves or adding for the future, you might consider Jack Quinn. Jack Quinn, of course, losing his top power play spot with Benson and Norris rotating in there, but he has not factored into a goal on power play 1 all year. So if he's still getting upper teens of minutes, he's pretty much as valuable as he was before. I know that's not exactly true, but you have to contribute on the power play for those power play minutes to be valuable. And we haven't seen that at all yet. We also are seeing a nice little burst from Matthias Samuelsson, who is someone that we mentioned a couple weeks ago when we talked about bash defensemen who are going to provide you help in categories, leagues, or leagues that give decent points to things like hits and blocks and shots. Samuelsson has had a nice little burst of 5 points in the last 5 games, his second such streak this season. 5 of his other 6 points also came in a 5-over-5 stretch. And he's averaging in the month of November a shot and a half, a hit and a half, and 2 blocks per game, along with about 23 minutes a night to keep those numbers up. So even when he is not necessarily scoring for you, he can be contributing in those other categories and getting big minutes. So if you didn't jump on him when we mentioned him with the bash defenseman a couple weeks ago, there may be another good opportunity, especially with that appealing upcoming schedule.
And don't I know it, Lewis? I was hit by the Samuelsson bomb last week, and I did not like it at all. And another thing I don't like at all is that we saw some injuries for Columbus with Marchenko going down during Monday's morning skate, and Zach Werenski leaving the game last night in the third period after what was a pretty solid game thus far. Don Waddell, the GM of Columbus, had this to say about Marchenko, that he does not expect it to be a long-term injury. And Dean Evison is expecting that Zach Werenski plays tomorrow, but they will have to wait and see how things go in the morning skate tomorrow.
All right, let's jump over to New York and the Rangers, where JT Miller remains out, kind of a day-to-day type situation, it looks like. Trocheck was a game-time decision on Monday, but he did get in. He played 20 minutes. He got whipped in the faceoff circle all night, but he did manage to score a goal. Could be that he is not 100% ready to go. That game time decision may be indicating that they might have wanted to try to keep him out if they could, but with the top 2 centers out, that's going to be a real problem for a team that has struggled with scoring. Juuso Parssinen was the next man up to be the second center, but he was put on waivers here on Tuesday morning. So maybe that means that, Miller is closer to coming back than we think, but maybe that's just me huffing a little bit of copium here with my second round pick not performing well and now out of the lineup. That did put Cooley back on the top power play. Any interest in Cooley while he has that spot?
In the interest of brevity, no.
Hey, he didn't do anything with that spot, so I can imagine why it might not be super appealing, and he could lose it, really at any moment here.
And talking about teams huffing on the copium, Toronto, is not getting a whole lot better when it comes to these injuries. Matthew Nyes and Austin Matthews still out, but close to returning. Apparently, hard to know with how injuries get meted out from Toronto. Same with Nicolas Roy. He might be coming back soon. Jake McCabe is playing tomorrow versus Columbus, and that should be exciting. All of these injuries have led to a new line one forward and a new power play one forward. They happen to be the same guy. And who is that, Lewis?
Ryan, it isn't Weston Horson. It's Easton Cowan, line one, power play one player. Cowan joins Calle Järnkrok, Nylander, Tavares, and Riley up on that top power play. Also up there, JT and Nylander, like a really nice opportunity for him there. But as you said, obviously we're seeing the Leafs struggle a little bit. Tavares is just absolutely putting in the work here. Over 20 minutes a game in his last 6 games, over 22 minutes in the last 2. He's got a point per game over the last 6, which is great, but still has not got anything on the power play. I know that is an area of concern in the hockey capital of the world.
Yeah, and another concerning thing is that Anthony Stolar seems to have suffered a bit of a setback. He is still a ways away, so Joseph Woll is still going to be your guy. And I'm going to take this opportunity to push back a little bit on Brian's assertion on the Mega Show that Woll isn't somebody you should want. Since he has returned from his personal leave, he's had 3 quality starts and only 1 really bad start, which was that game against Montreal, which dragged his save percentage down below Stolar's, which I think was Brian's main point of contention. I should remind everyone that the D at the end of that game featured only Morgan Rielly and Oliver Ekman-Larsson as reliable NHL options with Simon Benoit, Dakota Mermis, and Troy Stetcher filling out the ranks with the injured Jake McCabe not on the ice. And I would say that no goalie can perform well with 3 AHLers playing 4 NHL roles. All that being said, I think Joseph Woll has largely performed very well and given the Leafs a chance to win when he's in the net, and he is an absolute must start and must own while Anthony Stolarz is out, which looks like it could be for a little while.
Yeah, definitely with the setback, a little bit more of an opportunity for those who jumped in. All right, let's jump into some hot and cold streaks ourselves here. We got to give credit to Elon because Max Shabanov playing really nicely. He was recommended by Elon. I know that you felt a particular way. Let's not dwell too much on how you responded with Elon's positivity. But Shabanov did have a great game versus Detroit, but obviously not a ton since then. So we've got the one really big game, was not too shabby against Detroit, obviously, but that came from line 4. He's been silent since then. This is kind of like the Ethan Frank game, right? Like, it's really cool to see if for whatever reason you happen to be streaming these, guy. I guess it's more likely to stream Shabanov maybe than Frank, but it's the same sort of tier, I would argue, right? So you're kind of in between, right? He had a great game. You're still mostly right. Can we say you're mostly right?
Yeah, I'll say that he's mostly right. The contention, of course, that he would be on line 2 while Seaborn Holmstrom was out. He did nothing in that game, but if you kept him, you certainly got to take advantage of 2 goals and 1 assist. So good on you, Max Shabanov. I'm happy for you.
All right. Well, as long as we're talking, some opportunities to have called a good shot. I know that we heard a little bit. He was a title character for Shams and Jeremy last week. Braeden Bowman, just still playing really nicely. I have enjoyed owning both of Jack Eichel's wingers. It's a pretty nice spot to be here with Barbashev as well, who's been an occasional contributor, although he's another guy where if he doesn't score, you might not get a ton from him. But Braeden Bowman, he is getting, coach is saying all the right things about him. Cassidy seems to love his game, was praising his play on the boards, his puck management, the things that, Ryan, I know as a little bit more of a scout and prospect knower. Those are things that those younger players typically, get criticized for. He has a ways to go, and certainly I don't think he's going to be a 25% shooter through the remainder of the season, but that deployment is excellent. 4 goals and an assist in those first 6 games, playing about 16 minutes a night. Obviously getting that power play 1 run. What more could you ask for from Braeden Bowman? If he's out there, I would jump on him if he fits your schedule.
And if you're going to bring out the corny dad jokes, I'm going to say, Lewis, that you should take a bow, man, because I was really not up on this guy at all. I was poo-pooing him in the Short Shifts chat, and I'm glad he's proved me wrong. He's been a very rare bright spot for an otherwise pretty stagnant Vegas team that finds themselves 5 wins, 5 losses, and 5 overtime losses in the last 15 with no Mark Stone, no William Karlsson, and no Aiden Hill, very notably. Akira Schmid is still 5 points, 5 fantasy points per game, so that's been all right. His compatriot, Lindbaum, has not been very good. I think it's probably time that you downgrade the Vegas goalies from elite goalie stream to just kind of so-so. And of course, if you have Akira Schmid, you're probably holding him until maybe next week, because Carter Hart will be eligible to return to the NHL next Monday, December 1st. And I should just note for everybody, this very afternoon, he was changed from NA to out. So he is IR stashable. And I did make sure to add him in my division just because I knew I would be talking about him tonight, and he probably will start to climb up in that ownership percentage.
Yeah, I think so too. Certainly, we haven't had a whole bunch to write home about from those Vegas goalies. So I'm with you there. Let's head over to Utah. We got to talk about some Logan Cooley. We couldn't just skip out on talking about him after his 4-goal, 1-assist game on Monday, his 3rd multi-point game of the season. But I mean, Ryan, a 5-point game is that's not just a multi-point game. That's on a whole other level. None of those points from the power play, all of them during even strength play. I mean, man, if this guy can just get a grip on power play 1, I mean, a really, really exciting opportunity. I know that you were thinking about some potential sell highs for Cooley, especially if maybe he doesn't jump up onto that top power play. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I just wonder, I'm reticent sometimes to bring up these players that are very highly owned on short shifts because, what can you do with them except to say, woohoo, good for him. And it's certainly exciting to see that kind of game from him. So I think, you could probably take this as an opportunity to maybe explore a sell high, maybe someone like a Braeden Point who has been less than desirable this season. Maybe you go all the way and send him away for a Jack Hughes who's on the IR right now. Those are some options for you to consider. But, honestly, if I had Cooley, I'd be just holding on to him and I would just be shaking my fist at the sky about Barrett Hayton and his face-off prowess that keeps him on that top power play. Hopefully that doesn't last forever.
Hey, they say the best way to keep a job is to make yourself indispensable. And I see Barrett Hayton doing that right now. So that's smart strategy. That's good for your grind set. Let's jump over to another hot player. We've got Rasmus Andersson, a guy who there just was not very much interest in him at the start of the season. It seemed like Mackenzie Weegar had a death grip on that spot where he was so successful. But Rasmus continues his hot streak, 11 points in the last 7 games, significant power play time. 3 of those points have been on the power play. But the rest have been at even strength. This is some, definitely beyond, I imagine, what anybody maybe thought, grabbing him, thinking that he could be a decent second power play guy. Calgary has struggled at times, but certainly has shown some improvement. We've seen a lot more offensive firepower out of them over the last couple weeks. Again, this is another one of those maybe not actionable pieces like you were talking about. I don't know. He's another guy that I might think about for a sell high. We know how highly defensemen are valued. We could see Weegar get another bite at the apple on the power play. We could see Andersson cool off, certainly from an 11 points over 7 games pace. I don't think he's going to maintain that. So this is the guy that I would be thinking about a potential sell high opportunity. I did not prepare some people to discuss there, but Ryan, I see you raising a hand. Maybe you've got some ideas.
Quinn Hughes, why not? As Devin Cooley says, nothing matters and we're all going to die. So, throw caution to the wind. Maybe you could get a Quinn Hughes. Maybe you could get a Roman Josi who's just coming back in Nashville. Aim for the stars and you might, or shoot for the moon and you may land among the stars. I think that's how they say it, right, Lewis?
That sounds right to me. That sounds like one of those, teacher aphorisms that we always see. So, sounds good.
And now, Lewis, we're going to move over to our closing segment for the show. Again, this is like 3 weeks in a row we've had a closing segment. I'm really enjoying this. This one's going to be shorter than the last few. And I've come up with, I think, a pretty catchy title. I want to get your thoughts on that here before we dive into it. This is going to be kind of a rapid fire round of, news that we got today on Tuesday that obviously we can't say, what's going on in the games tonight because there's no games. So here's the title: Tuesday news dump of speculative items we will not see the fruits of until tomorrow. Catchy, eh?
Yeah, let's not talk about tonight's game because our dear friend and fellow Tuesday host Elizabeth is watching her lovely Oilers right now, and I'm sure they have staged a great comeback and Jamie Benn has stopped scoring. All right, so let's jump into things here. I want to start with a player on my roster that I was really excited to see this news because I've got too many injuries to deal with right now. Andrei Burakovsky skating in a regular jersey. Of course, he had some really nice chemistry with Connor Bedard, who has continued his scoring ways. If those two get reunited, maybe look and see if Burakovsky hit the waiver wire over the course of his injury. I think he's the kind of guy that you could afford to let go, but he is a really exciting opportunity, was getting that even strength time and some power play time as well. So that's a nice spot playing with Connor Bedard, who's been off to a really nice roll this season. All right. And Ryan, lightning round back to you.
Jared McCann practiced today, centering Berkeley Catton and Shane Wright. And this from Lane Lambert: we're still waiting on McCann, but he's progressing. Obviously, we had him in a position at practice where we're hoping that he's going to be in the lineup here very shortly.
All right, jumping over to Winnipeg, Coach Scott Arniel was asked about finding the right mix for that second line. Yeah, I threw Vlad Mesnikov in the middle. I thought his last couple of games have been really good, so that would be in between Perfetti and Pearson. So that's a role he's seen a bit over the last few years as Winnipeg is searching for that best fit at 2C. Not somebody maybe to jump on right this instant, but if you've got, an opportunity where, that I could see it as being a potentially good option, especially in a pretty deep league.
And Tyler Toffoli is questionable for tomorrow's game with an illness. Perhaps he'll feel better in the morning and he'll go. But right now it looks like they will be finding someone else for his role tomorrow.
And then Brian Rust, dealing with an illness here on Tuesday, asked about his availability for Wednesday. Coach said, "You always take things a day at a time, but I'm thinking that he'll be back, and that's the plan." Those of you hoping for a Ben Kindle, reunification with Crosby over an extended period of time, did see him on line one with Dewar and Crosby, kind of a Connor McDavid, let's just have Crosby do everything with this line sort of setup. But you imagine Kindle may very well lose that spot when Rust makes his return, and being up there without Crosby and Rust does make it a little less appealing. So, watch game day tweets, see if Brian Rust is back from his illness. And if you got those Ben Kindle shares, maybe you let him drop. And with that, Ryan, that is the end of our lightning round. We are through another glorious evening of fantasy hockey discussion. Thank you so much for joining me. Always a pleasure to be on the air with you. And thank you all listeners for joining us. If you enjoyed our show, please consider joining the Keeping Karlsson Patreon group at keepingkarlsson.com/patron. Where super supporters receive ad-free episodes. You can interact with Brian, Elon, the Short Shifts crew, and hundreds of other talented fantasy managers on our active Discord server. Check out GameDayTweets.com to get all the best info from Twitter. And team by team and searchable tweets or posts, posts by player name. It's Game Day Tweets. I think we're stuck in the past with that name, so we're stuck in the past with the name of the company. But please visit Game Day Tweets and the other great sites we use to research our episodes at Yahoo, Frozen Tools, Natural Stat Trick. Our intro and outro music was created by Pat Roach. And until we see you next time, play smart and keep your shifts short.
To clean a toilet?
You don't need a bottle of solution to get into this toilet revolution. Clorox, clean feels good.
Use as directed.
If you're a custodial supervisor at a local high school, you know that cleanliness is key, and that the best place to get cleaning supplies is from Grainger. Grainger helps you stay fully stocked on the products you trust, from paper towels and disinfectants to floor scrubbers. Plus, you can rely on Grainger for easy reordering, so you never run out of what you need. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.